Hey, what's up everyone? This is Zach, and I'm here with a different type of video for you guys. So for this video, we are going to go over, in my opinion, the most underrated song from each album from Breaking Benjamin. Now, I know I've went over this numerous times when it comes to Breaking Benjamin. They were one of the first bands I ever got into. I got into them when I was about 15 years old, so definitely a long time, and we're definitely overdue for a new album. I mean, it's been a while since Breaking Benjamin released an album, so come on, Breaking Benjamin, let's hear that new record. But yeah, so 6 albums to their name currently, not including Aurora, and that's the thing with this video as well. We're not going to include any compilations, so no Aurora or anything, no EPs or live material or anything like that, just the main studio albums from Breaking Benjamin, the 6 albums in their discography. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So we, of course, start off with Breaking Benjamin's debut, Saturate. Now, with this one, it's pretty tough because there's a few tracks on this album that I find pretty underrated. But as for what I think is the most underrated, maybe either Natural Life or Next to Nothing. Probably one of those songs I'd say is the most underrated from this album. Both very good songs that I've always liked. I might go with Natural Life. I think that is definitely one of Breaking Benjamin's most underrated tracks. But yeah, solid album that you can't go wrong with. Very good debut. I know there's a lot of Breaking Benjamin fans that say that this is their worst. I don't agree with that, but I understand why a lot of fans do put it last, because it's the one that's the most raw. It's not as polished as the other Breaking Benjamin albums, so I get it. You know, I get what they were, what some fans are going for with that, but you know, I think it has a lot to do with when this album was made too. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. This was like the very early 2000s, so yeah, there you have it. But I think it's a great album. But yeah, Natural Life is maybe the most underrated song from this album. Either that one or Next to Nothing. Both very good tracks though. Okay, so next we have their second album, We Are Not Alone, which in my opinion may be their weakest album, but that's not saying much because I do like this album for the most part. But as for what I think is the most underrated song from this album, maybe either Firefly or Break My Fall. One of these songs probably. I do dig both those songs. I might say Firefly, though, if you had to make me choose one underrated song. Yeah, I've always really liked Firefly. I've always thought it was a pretty underrated Breaking Benjamin track. But yeah, I do think that this album does have some of their weakest material, especially in the second half of the album. But I still think it's a good album for what it is. It's just, I think it's their weakest, honestly, but still not bad. But as for their most underrated song from this album, gotta go with Firefly. All right, so next we have Phobia, their third album, and probably my favorite from the band as well. So with this one, there's a few contenders for being the most underrated song from this album. You could say Unknown Soldier, you could say You could say Evil Angel. I might say You as being the most underrated from this album. That song doesn't really get brought up a whole lot within the Breaking Benjamin fan base. I mean, obviously you hear more about The Diary of Jane and Breath and sometimes Dance with the Devil until the end as well. But You, this is a song that doesn't really get brought up a whole lot, but I dig this song a lot. I like the melodies and how dark it sounds and everything. I think You is a very good song, and I might go with that one as the most underrated track from Phobia. So You is my pick for Phobia. So next we've got their fourth album, Dear Agony, which is probably my second favorite Breaking Benjamin album behind Phobia. It's a very close second for me, and this album means a lot to me. This actually might have been the first CD purchase that I've ever made too. I remember picking this up at Walmart. I mean, it's in pretty beat up condition to some extent. I mean, you can kind of tell because, as you can see, there's tape on the booklet there because the booklet got ripped or something like that. But yeah, so I've had this CD for a long time. But yeah, this album means a lot to me. I mean, I love this album. I think it's a strong album, front to back, start to finish, however you want to say it. I mean, if I were to choose the most underrated song from this album, I would probably either go with Crawl or Into the Nothing. Both very good songs, I think, but I think Into the Nothing is the song that I would go with. I might say Without You, but I don't know. I do see more love for that song than the other songs that I mentioned, Crawl and Into the Nothing. But Into the Nothing might actually be my pick for the most underrated song from this album. I've always really liked that song. I think it has a strong chorus. It has great vocals from Ben. I think it has a great flow to the song. I dig the bridge section to the song and just how melodic that is and everything. And yeah, Into the Nothing I think is a great track, and it might actually be one of my favorite Breaking Benjamin songs too, and of course one of my favorites from this album. So Into the Nothing is, in my opinion, maybe the most underrated song from Dear Agony. Alright, so next, Dark Before Dawn, their fifth album, with the current lineup and everything. Pretty good album, not their best, but good, I would say. Now, as for the most underrated song from this album, this is another one where there's honestly a few contenders that you could name. I mean, you could say Close to Heaven, Bury Me Alive, Defeated as well, maybe. I don't know. Now, it is debatable whether or not Defeated is underrated, but maybe to some extent it is. But honestly, the most underrated from this album, I might go with Hollow. I've always really enjoyed Hollow, especially the melodies in that song. I mean, I think Ben is really giving it his all in that song, vocally and everything. He sounds great. I dig the melodies and everything like that. So Hollow, always really like this song, and it's probably one of my favorites from this album too. That song doesn't really get brought up a whole lot, and I don't know why. I think it's a great track. And I think it has a very strong chorus as well. I mean, just very good stuff. So Hollow, probably my pick for Dark Before Dawn. And then finally, their most recent release, again, if we're not including Aurora, Ember. Good album, but like with Dark Before Dawn, I just don't think it's their best, but still a good album. Now, as for the most underrated from this album, Close Your Eyes. I would probably say Close Your Eyes is the most underrated from this album. That song doesn't really get brought up a whole lot, unlike, of course, the singles like Red Cold River, and maybe Feed the Wolf 2, Torn in Two, Blood. I mean, those songs seem to get brought up more than Close Your Eyes. But Close Your Eyes, I think, is a great song and also one of my favorites on this album. I really dig the chorus to that song. And yeah, I'd say Close Your Eyes is the most underrated from Ember. So there you have it. So that is my video on, in my opinion, the most underrated song from each Breaking Benjamin album. Let me know what you think. Are you a fan of Breaking Benjamin? And feel free to let me know in the comments, in your opinion, what are the most underrated Breaking Benjamin songs, or at least the most underrated from each album of theirs? Feel free to let me know in the comments. And what did you think of my choices? Feel free to let me know. So with that said, thank you all for watching, take care, and have a good one.